Alright, and this is going to be a quick deck profile showing what I've been working with Sylvans. So it's a bit of an odd Sylvan deck, and I'm also playing TCG only. I haven't tried any of the new Primal Origin stuff that's coming out. The side deck is sort of just there. Um, yeah, we'll go from here. So I play double Flower Princesses Delay just because she makes. If you can get both of her on the field at the same time, it's actually quite funny watching your opponent trying to get over them. It's like, oh, dark hole. Nope, they're still there. I actually didn't know what would happen if only one was on the field and I had other plants, and if the field got dark hold. And apparently, like, she's the only one that will get destroyed. She'll actually protect everything else, which is actually quite nice. I only play one Hermitry, um, just because I only. That's another thing. This is a deck that I actually own, so I only have one Hermitry. I don't want to play too many. Um, but he's just there. I'm testing playing the Dragon Rulers. Just seemed like an interesting thing to do. Like, somebody was like, "Oh, you're playing plants? Of course you play Dragon Rollers because you could." Like, I think Tempest would technically be the better one because I have a lot of wind monsters. Well, because it's such a weird plant build, I actually don't really have. Like, I think I did the count. I only have 6 water targets, like 4 or 5. Yeah, 5 fire targets, and then something like 4 wind targets, and like it's not really enough to justify. But with the extra deck, I do play a lot of dragons, so that was part of the reason why I was able to justify playing Blaster. I, like I replaced him. I had Tragon here originally. I took him out because like Trag was Trag. Like it wasn't as good as I would have liked it to be. One Fallen Angel, um, just because she's nice. Like if I'm in a desperate situation, I'll play a Peacekeeper, get an Excavate, hope to get lucky. And if I got a good Excavate, I got a good Excavate. If I don't, I just return Peacekeeper to the hand and special Fallen Angel, and then I instantly have a 2400 attack monster on the field. I have 2 Flower Knights. He's good for that instant Excavate when you need it if you set it up properly. Or if he gets Excavated, he can set up future plays. Uh, I don't like playing Blade Fender because he has to attack and destroy a monster, and at 1900, he's not really my go-to guy for that. Like I prefer getting the my bigger beat sticks out on the field as fast as possible. 2 Marsh Leaf, I don't like him at 3. I draw into him too much already at 2, and I don't want to have him. Um, yeah, I don't want to have him at 1 because he's too good. Uh, Lone Player at 2 because it's at 2 and you should play it at 2. I'd play it at 3 if I could. um, Dandelion, it's only at 1, so I can't play more. Um, he's really cool. He's really nice because if you excavate him, you will get your fluff tokens. And if you excavate Spore, you can just special Spore and use the fluff tokens as synchro material. So it's quite nice. 2 of the mushrooms. I'm debating if I want a third, but I found 2 is actually quite a good number. Pretty much the MST of the deck, and if you get him first turn, he's pretty good. Spore because it's Spore. When I first started playing Sylvans, I did test having more Spores, but then I got Copy Plant. So I would like to have more tuners in the deck, but Formula Synchron sort of makes up for that. Um, and Copy Plants, I can only really make even level synchros. And I do play quite a few 7s, a 5, and some other random synchros that Copy Plant just is not good for. So Spore makes up for that, and then Spore can do some interesting things where you can go for a Formula, bring itself back, make something else, and then Formula can make something else. Like this deck can make Shooting Quasar Dragon so easily, but I'm not willing to pay $80 for a single card, hence it's not in here. Um, 3 of the Peacekeepers, like some people like it at 2. It's like Lone Fire for days if you get these off. You can only use his effective special summon once per turn, but at the same time, it's like if you're excavating both of them in the same turn, that's just a bit unlucky and quite a waste. Um, Cherub Sprout, because he only excavates if he's special summoned, I don't like him that much. But if he himself gets excavated, that's pretty much a Spore or a Copy Plant or if I already have a spore on field, I'll special Peacekeeper so that way I can make formula. Copy plant because not only can it copy levels and go for big synchro monsters, but it can copy levels and make easy rank 8 monsters, which is quite nice. One mini guts, just because it's so easy to swarm the field. Like if I have a fluff token left over, it's quite nice to sacrifice the fluff token and do some extra damage by making a monster's attack, or my opponent's monster 0. 2 MST because I already have 2 mushroom. Though I'm debating if I want 3. Originally I only had 1 in here, but I had terraforming in the deck, but I ended up taking that out for the second Mystical Space Typhoon, just because like while terraforming's nice, I've noticed that I'll have like an extra field spell in hand, and I'll have terraforming in hand, and it's just dead in hand. Super Solar Nutrient because it's pretty much sacrifice a monster, get a lone Fire Blossom, then search out your entire deck. Fertilizer, you just play 3. There's no other way. 1 Spiritual Force because it's actually somewhat amusing. I played against a guy once. I had this out on the field. He destroyed Dandelion, or he had to attack twice to destroy Dandelion, so I got fluff tokens. And then so he had the fluff tokens to deal with. He dealt with those, and then MST to face down and Call of the Haunted. So I brought Dandelion back. Dandelion got destroyed, and he had the fluff tokens to deal with all over again. So it's a pretty good wall, but I'm debating if I want to pull it out. It's like, other than its interaction with the Dandelion tokens and other weak level plants, it's not that good. Like, I might just leave it in the side deck, put something else more useful. Like, I'm thinking maybe a second Waboku. I'll get to that. And then 3 of the field spell, because why shouldn't you play 3? I'll explain the traps backwards, actually. So, 2 Call the Haunted, because you can bring back any plant and make a good play. Like, this deck is really good at bringing stuff back to life. Like, between the Call the Haunteds, Miracle Fertilizers, and the Peacekeepers, like, I could pretty much special summon the entire deck using Lone Fire Blossom and that kind of interaction. 1 Compulse, because sometimes you have something on the field that you just need to get rid of. Like, Beals is a card. It can't be destroyed by card effects or battle, so it's like, that needs to get off the field. Though Compulse is not exactly the best option, and I'll explain stuff like other choices. I have 1 Sylvan Blessing. I had this at 2, but I put it down to 1 because 2 was okay. 3 was just way too cloggy, but 2 is okay. Because if I had a Marsh Leaf in hand, like, I don't want Marsh Leaf in hand, so it allows me to put Marsh Leaf on the top of my deck, then excavate it instantly if I special like a tree from grave. So that's a really nice combo that I can set up. So now it's more of a situational card because it's only at 1. And then if I have my field set up correctly with like Mount Sylvania on the field, and this tends to be a dead draw. So with having mounts on the field, it's like, oh, excavate, I don't want this in my hand, put it on the bottom of my deck, and it'll find its way back if I ever need it. And it is technically searchable with like Flower Knight and all that other stuff. So, like, if I do need it, I can search it, but I don't find myself using it that often. Like, after Primal Origins comes out, I will probably cut it out for the Sylvan Graceful Charity, even though that's not what it's called, but that's why everyone refers to it as. D-Prison, because it's too good. Mirror Force, because it's Mirror Force. Though I have debated taking these out and swapping them for Wabokus. I'll explain that in a bit. I don't like T-Roar, because I'll have a face-down Mushroom, and I want my opponent to attack. So I don't like having a Threatening Roar. Or, like, I'll have, I'll just have stuff face that or on the field, and it's like, I don't want them to just not attack everything. I just want them to attack one thing specifically and not destroy anything else. So there are times when it's like, okay, Mirror Force is actually good. Um, and Dimensional Prison has its moments, but it's like, bottomless because it's bottomless. And then Waboku just because I don't, like I said, I don't like Threatening Roar, but I find myself having too many problems where I'll have a Mirror Force and a Dimensional Prison set, and they'll both get destroyed. Or like I'll have any trap set and it'll get destroyed before they even enter battle phase. So I like having Waboku just because I can chain it and say, okay, I'm still protected for the turn, like considering that I'll still need it. Uh, Side deck is just stuff that I used to play with. I don't really play with anymore. Like I had Shiro Beam because she's sort of like a lone fire if she gets destroyed by your opponent. But if your opponent knows what they're doing, it's like it doesn't happen often. Like I had her and one Talea. I prefer having two Taleas just because of the lock. I also before I put in Blaster, I also had Titanial, which can negate stuff if you sacrifice a plant. But I don't like sacrificing my own monsters unless it's a fluff token. So so these are the only two Flower Princesses I like. Magical Merchant, I've had way too many scenarios where it's like, okay, he gets flipped, Excavate, and it's the first thing that I draw is the spell. So it's like that will be the difference between game for me. So I've had that happen way too often. I just took him out. Terraforming I took out because I needed space for the MST, and then Oath of Champion Companionship, Promise of an Adversary, whatever you want to call it. That this was fun to play with because if I don't have anything that like if I don't have any of my synchros or XCs out, um, I can steal an opponent's monster, and it's somewhat useful, especially like if they go for something really crazy. Like I could steal it until the end phase. Um, but like it's especially like gosh, if they went for some like if they go for like 101 or Exiton Knight, like just go for this card and steal their monster and be safe for a turn. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. So I'd probably keep it in the side deck if I actually build a legit side deck. Other things I'd probably add in the side deck would be like the light imprisoning mirrors and things like that. Probably DNA surgeries. I also had Fragrant Storms, which allows me to sacrifice a plant to draw. But again, it's like sacrificing my own plants. Uh, and then one for one, I know I have a copy of that somewhere. I'm debating if I want to add it to this deck, but it's like there's so like the deck is already um, like the deck is already cramped as is in terms of like cards that I wish I could put in here. So I don't really, and especially when the new stuff comes out, like I'm gonna probably like there's a lot of stuff that I'm gonna have to take out and stuff that I'm gonna have to put in. But yeah, onto the extra deck. I only for XCs I play only rank 8s. I know I could play rank 7s, especially because I have Fallen Angel and Blaster and Copy Plant. But the only rank 7s that are good are like Big Eye and Dracosac. And again, they're a bit out of my price reach, so I don't really want to add them. Yeah, Gimmick Puppet, if you didn't see in the video, he gets rid of special summoned monsters, which is quite nice, and he has quite a nice defense. I'll say, yeah, and also my rank 8s tend to be more defensive. If I did have to go for a different rank 8, I'd probably swap out the Dragon Overlord for Felgrand, just because he's ridiculously good. But yeah, like, I don't have much space for rank 8s. Like, this, as I've tested with the deck, I've sort of noticed that I wanted to move away from the ranks, or from the rank plays, and move more towards synchro plays. Just because synchros are synchros. So I like Formula because he's easy to make, gives you a free draw, and you can synchro on your opponent's turn. So you can leave him with Librarian. I'm debating if I would switch him out for Catastor or something else. But yeah, you leave him out on the field with Librarian, and on your opponent's main phase, you pretty much threaten them with the possibility of having a Black Rose. Armory Arm because I've had way too many situations where it's like, okay, I can't make any good plays and like the only good synchro I can make would be like a level 4 or something. So it's Armory Arm's a nice like option to go to. Orient Dragon because he'll banish synchro monsters when he's synchro summoned. So that's a good way to get rid of Beals. Um, like I would actually I don't think I would play any other levels 6. I thought about dropping level 6s from my deck in general, but this card is too good. Like especially because my deck does not have many answers to Beals. So this is my answer to Beals. Ancient Fairy Dragon for Field Spell Wars. Especially if I'm playing against like zombies, I can destroy their field spell and get mine and add life points. Ancient Pixies is actually quite fun if like Ancient Pixie, like that one might come out. I'm sort of playing with it around at the moment. It's fun if I have the field spell in hand and can make it in the same turn. So I'll make the Ancient Pixie Dragon, play my field spell, then draw. And Ancient Pixie can destroy monsters. So and with 3,000 defense, it's actually quite, or not that bad. And for the other level 7 is Black Rose, because it's Black Rose. Debatably, I would take out the Ancient Pixie and put in another Black Rose, just because 2 Black Roses, like, nobody expects that. But this deck is not fast enough, and honestly, it's better suited towards rank plays. So, like, especially with the ability to get those high-level monsters, it's better to make rank 8 and 7 plays, rather than to sacrifice your field at the cost of, like, Black Rose is, like, for me, Black Rose is sort of a last-ditch effort, so I don't make Black Rose often, but it's nice to have it there. Stardust, because it's Stardust, and Scrap Dragon, because if I have Talay on the field and I can make a Scrap Dragon, I can target my monsters, target something my opponent controls, and Talia's like, nope, my monsters are safe, but your stuff's gonna get destroyed. Gigantic Castle, because he's really easy to make, and it's fun, especially if you can make him using a lot of low-level things. Like, a lot of the times he'll only sit at 31, but I've had him go up to quite a bit of attack just because I had stuff on the field, and it's like, okay, my opponent has no way of stopping me. I'm just going to try and go for game. Leo, because he cannot be targeted, except during my main phase 2, which is quite nice. And Shooting Star Dragon, just because I can make it. I don't make it often, but it's quite amusing when I do. Like, I'll look at my hand and I'll know if I can make a Shooting Star Dragon. But it does require some resources, so I'll probably end up taking it out and putting in something else, like a Felgrand if I ever got my hands on one, or something else in general. But yeah, that's pretty much my deck. Like I said, I need to work on a side deck. I'd probably put in, again, the Imprisoning Mirrors. Oh, some other things that I did have in my extra deck that I ended up taking out was like Tempo, because he can detach my opponent's Xyz materials, but I found that in order to make him, I pretty much have to have a Marsh Leaf and a Copy Plant on field. So the easier thing to do was make a rank 8 play, because that's a lot easier to do, and just go for the Gimmick Puppet. I was toying around with Black Ship and Cowboy, just because damage for game is a lot better than trying to attack for game. But yeah, a lot of these cards that I did have here were mostly just stuff that came from my older Gravekeeper build, so a lot of it isn't as viable. But yeah, so this is my Sylvan deck. Just, like, it's still a work in progress, but this is the deck as, like, up to date as it is, so hope you all enjoyed. Till next time.